welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we're diving back into our Explicitly Yours series by Jessica Hawkins. If you have not already listened to the first book in this series, which is called Possession, that link is going to be down below in the description section. Once you finish that book review, come on and join us as we dive into book 2, which is called Domination. Lola goes home and Johnny sleep on the couch. She had thought he would kind of probably be up worrying, but I guess she was wrong. So she dropped her purse by his head to kind of wake him up. And we find out that he actually went out and he hung out with his guy friends after work. So he asked her if she had read his text message, but she told him that, Bo took her phone. And so he got really pissed and was like, what if he decides, he doesn't want to pay? And Lola was like, he's going to pay. Like, I trust him to do the right thing. So she goes to take a shower. And, of course, her thoughts are all about Bo. And she wanted to, rub one out just thinking about him. But it's not going to soothe the ache because she wants the person. So then Johnny made coffee for her. And she told him everything up until before they went in the strip club. Which, by the way, in the previous review, I told you that they didn't go to Cat's shop, which was where she used to work, but that was incorrect. They did go to Cat's shop, which is why it struck her even more so, because that was the place where she used to work. So after the conversation with Johnny at the table, she went to lay down, and when she woke up, there was a note from Johnny telling her to take the night off, and that, we're millionaires. So she starts thinking that, she's still trying to pay Johnny back for taking a chance on her, and it seems like that debt is just never going to be repaid. So the next morning, Lola, she woke up and she did some research, running the numbers, of what it's really going to cost to have this bar, doing renovations and everything. When Johnny got home that morning, she tried to talk to him about it, but it was like he just didn't want to hear it. He just wanted to go play football in the park with his friends like they normally do. And he just, which is crazy to me if you're so passionate about this, but yet you don't want to look at, what it's going to take to do it, or you want to push it off. I don't know. It's just, I just can't stand him. He just has this attitude of, it'll all work out. Okay. That's so annoying, So she decided, she's going to stay home. And she's going to look, keep looking over these numbers. And then they also had a discussion about what they were going to tell people. Because, everyone's going to want to know, well, how the hell did you come into all this money? So good old Johnny comes up with the idea of telling people that, one of her long lost uncles, and he left her the money. So at first she was against it, but then she caved. So then they went in later that evening to talk to Mitch about the offer. Well, the Hank guy has now upped his offer to $800,000. And I wonder if he really did that, or if Mitch is just trying to get more money, because apparently the $600,000 that the Hank guy was offering was overvalued anyway. So I'm just kind of wondering about that. So then Johnny begs to buy it. And he's like, yeah, we'll do the price of $800,000. And I'm like, see, this is what happens. If you had looked at those numbers, you would have realized that $800,000 doesn't leave them a lot to do. It only leaves $200,000. And if you've got renovations and you've got different things, you got to get a kitchen up to code, because if you want to bring people in, guess what? You probably want to serve more food. You probably need to put money into marketing. You know what I mean? Different things. And you're not leaving enough for those things to get done. And those were the things that she was trying to get to talk to him about. And he didn't feel like it was important. And now you going in here in a meeting, a business meeting, and you're trying to bullshit your way through it. And now you're begging to buy a place that after you spend this $800,000, it's still going to be an extreme uphill battle. See, this again is why I can't stand him. Mitch gives them the night off, and so Johnny wants to take Lola to like this upscale steakhouse in Beverly Hills. So while Johnny's getting ready, she gets a call from an unknown number, and yes, it is our guy Bo. So he asked her, if she thought about his offer, and she said the answer is no. So he asked her if, she had talked with Johnny about it, and she says there was no need because the answer is no. So then he asked her about the bar and told her she needed a lawyer to represent her. And he brought up how, what happens if you all split up? Like, who's going to get what? How are you going to split the profits? And these are concerns that, she's so much thinking about, oh no, this is going to be us together. This is going to be us together. And it's like you're already seeing that he doesn't want to do the hard work. Like, he doesn't want to look at the numbers. He doesn't want to look at things with you. He's trying to handle this by himself, which to me means he's going to try and leave you out of that paperwork. And it's like, girl. So, I mean, Bo's he's a mess, but he is giving her like valid things to think about. So then Bo tells her, he misses hearing her voice. And she gets off the phone because his voice alone was getting old girl worked up. So they get to the restaurant. Johnny apologizes to the valet for the car because it's, an older car. And Lola was like, why are you apologizing? And it's clearly he has a complex about money, right? To the fact that because I'm at this expensive place, I need to apologize for bringing an old beat up car and not having this nice luxurious car for you guys to like go park for me. It's like, come on, get it together. So then they get to the table, and he of course tells the waiter he wants the most expensive champagne on the menu. Lola's like, we don't need it. We can get a nice bottle of red wine. But he was like, we're millionaires and we can live a little. So she says to him, I didn't lay on my back for champagne. I loved it. Again, he's thinking about what he wants to do, not about her, just about what he wants to do. And she's the one that laid on her back to get the money. That's crazy. That is so crazy to me. So she then decides to tell him, I don't know why, but she decides to tell him about the offer that Bo made when he dropped her off. And Johnny gets mad because she didn't tell him sooner. So they started getting loud because they're going back and forth, and the waiter comes over, and Johnny jumped up and was like, that's fine, we'll go, because he thought they were going to kick him out. And the waiter's like, no, I was just going to take it to, kind of quiet down, But Johnny's pissed. He leaves, and he took the fucking car. So she didn't know at first because she was contemplating like calling Bo, but then she like decided against it. She goes outside, and Johnny has gotten the car from the fucking valet, and he's gone. He left her there. So she called a cab. She gets home. Johnny's not there. He doesn't show up until after midnight. So she was worried at this point. Like, at first she's mad, but now she's worried. And then when he comes in, he clearly had been drinking. He wanted to talk and basically told her that he left because he didn't want to say anything to her I'm going to say it correctly. He didn't want to say anything to her that he might regret. You son of a bitch. What could you possibly say to me that you're going to fucking regret? We came to a decision together, right? About me doing this for us. And then you think you what? Gonna call me something low? Like, why would you do that? That shouldn't even been an issue. I can't stand him. I really can't. So then he has the nerve to be like, what did you do with him that's worth another $1 million? Bitch, are you mad because the girl's worth something to somebody? Like, what is it? So then he starts talking about it from like a business standpoint about how, she was able to do it before. And, if we just look at it like a business, it shouldn't be any different. So see, right there, it's like, he's the pimp, she's the whore, That's how he treats it. And that, again, lets you know what he truly thinks of her. He can't think that highly of her. He can't. So they hug She was trying to like show him that nothing had changed, even though deep down she knows it has. And he took her shirt off, but then he couldn't like fuck her. He was like, it's just too soon. Oof. That night they go to work. She's talking to Veronica because she can see, Veronica can see like something's going on with Johnny. She told Lola, Johnny keeps like looking at you like you're someone he doesn't know, but he wants to approach. So Veronica figured out real quick where the money really came from. So she got upset, but she wasn't upset at Lola. She was upset at Johnny. And she pretty much had that same sentiment that both had said to her, which was his job is to protect you. And he didn't do that. Like, he shouldn't have been okay with this. Lola tried to defend the decision and even said, how, kind of brought up Veronica's stuff and was like, we didn't judge you when you were in that bad relationship. And we even let you stay with us when you left the guy. But Veronica told her, listen, that was between me and him. We didn't bring someone else in the bedroom. And I don't think you'll be able to get him out. Then, of course, she asked her, if it was good. And finally, Lola admitted it was like the best. But, of course, told her, don't say anything to Johnny. So Johnny comes over later. And he's in a mood still. And she was like, why did you leave me earlier? I had to hitch a ride with Veronica. He told her he had to meet with Mitch about the deal. This pissed her off, and I can understand why. Again, he is showing you that you are not going to be a part of this decision, right? The paperwork isn't about you. Like, I'll let you lay on your back and get us this money, but paperwork, you're not going to be a part of it. But I guarantee you he'll try and make her do all of the work, all of the grunt work, I'm just like, he's just so fucking just despicable. And if she's the one that inherited the money, bitch, y'all not married. So why would Mitch even be meeting with him? Mitch should have been like, you know what? Well, where's Lola? I mean, technically it is her money. You know what I'm saying? So, I tell you. So Lola's pissed, but she can hear this edge in Johnny's voice. And so she kind of proceeded with caution. So she tells him the whole spiel about it. It's supposed to be their baby. And that they were going to make decisions together. And he's still giving her this whole ass attitude. So she says to him, are you mad at me that I won't do it again? And he was like, I thought we already agreed you wouldn't. But clearly you want to do it. So the decision's on you. You can't hold this over. You can't hold me or this over my head. So old girl whipped out her phone because he walked off. She whipped out her phone and she called Bo and asked what were the terms of the agreement. And he said the same as before, half now and half when it's done. And he asked her if she had had sex with Johnny. And at first she was like, he's my boyfriend. But he was like, hurt people do things you wouldn't imagine. So have you slept with him? And she, of course, admitted it. No, she hasn't. She asked him if he'd been with someone. He said no. So then she goes, I know Johnny and stuff. Like, girl, that is not. Listen, you kept saying you knew Johnny, but yet you're seeing a side of him that you were like, oh, that's what it is, So don't do that whole. Oh, well, I know Johnny. That's when you get dumb, because people can always surprise you. So they have now agreed they're going to do the deed tomorrow night. So on the way home, she didn't say anything. Johnny was trying to be kind of normal, even saying stuff like, we can hire people to do this shift, this late, the graveyard shift. He's like, when we own the place, because this overnight shit is getting to me. So they get in the house and he was all horny. He wanted to take a shower with her. And that's when she decided to tell him. He freaked out. And she was like, you said what you said, so I made the call. So then he was like, what did you agree to? And he said, she was like, the same terms. So his response was, we could have gotten more. She started to realize that money means a hell of a lot more to him than she had initially thought. Thus the reason that fucking statement, I know Johnny. No, you don't. Because you're clearly seeing everything he's been presenting to you is not what it truly is for him. So then she even started to kind of second guess if she ever really knew him, or did she just kind of put him on this pedestal because he took a chance on her. So he tells her that, he saw the video of her at the charity event, and that Brenda, who's one of their friends, had shown it to Mark. And so now he told him the truth. So she's embarrassed and she felt sick. And here's my thing. I feel like you were fine with lying about where the money came from to Mitch, right? You're okay with that. Well, now we got a video showing her with some guy or whatever that's rich. I don't know. I felt like if he wanted to protect her, he would have thought of something to try and protect her. But I feel like he wanted people to know that she did this, because I feel like he kind of wants to take her down a little bit, because everyone looks at Lola like, she's this beautiful girl. She's smart. And, like basically like Johnny doesn't deserve her. And I feel like this was kind of way of kind of knocking her down. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's why he was so quick to tell him. He was kind of like, well, what was I supposed to do? Bitch, you'll lie about anything else. So why couldn't you think of something else? Then again, at the same time, I kind of feel like when you make decisions like this, you got to be able to stand in it. You got to be able to, stand down into it 10 toes, behind your decisions. That's my little rant about that. So then he starts talking then about getting married and, sending a kid to Harvard with this kind of money. And I'm like, oh, so now she's worthy of being married to. She had to go fuck to get the money, and now she's worthy of being married to. Just a whole trash ass person, I promise you. So then Bo sent a beautiful gown to the house. He's pissed because, again, this is showing his wealth, Bo's, and the fact that he can do these type of things for her. And he tried not to look at it, but he couldn't help it. And he even made the statement, oh, he has to pay for your attention, but I get it for free. Why the fuck would you say something like that to me? It's like, again, just no consideration for her. Just none. He wants the benefits from what she has to do, but just, I can't stand him. She waited to put the dress on until after Johnny had left for work, because again, she's still thinking about him, not trying to make him feel bad. So Bo comes and he has a little chit chat. Well, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. She had a little chit chat with the driver. His name's Warner. I think in the last review I probably call him Winter. But his name's Warner. So Bo gets out the car. Bo wants to go into her apartment. So she tried to lie and say Johnny's in there, but he knew that was a lie, because he was like, well, the last time Johnny was looking out the window. So then she had to admit that he had already left for work. So she caves. She lets him in. He looks around, gives her, half the money via cash, and then he tries to kiss her, and she tries to back away, but he gets her anyway, and she says, don't do this. This is his home. So then he tells her basically, that he knew Johnny wouldn't be able to sleep with her after what had happened. And she wasn't going to ask like how he knew, but he said it anyway. He was like, because I couldn't share you. And she said, well, you don't feel anything like that for me. And he said, so imagine what it would be like if I did. In other words, I can't imagine sharing you, but someone who loves you can. Just saying. So they leave, and in the car, he puts his hands on her thighs under her dress, and old girl, of course, just melts. So she thinks they might go to like some type of opera or some fancy event, because she has on this like beautiful dress. And he tells her, they got to make a stop by his house to see his sister. So he tells her she can stay in the car if she would like, or she can meet her. So they get to the house, but Lola like wanted that man right then and there. And so she took his dick out and she just sat on it and fucked him. So he didn't come inside her. He like pulled it out, and he like came on her thighs. I don't know. That was just kind of weird to me, but okay. So he wiped her up, and then his sister Brigitte starts banging on the window. So Brigitte is all like flirty with Warner the driver, and then they all go inside, and Bo goes to speak with someone. So then I think the house manager, I forget his name, um, Brigitte kind of goes in on Lola, but I think it was more so to see what her intentions were with her brother. But Lola was like, you know, I don't really care what you think, boy, and I know what it is, and it's temporary. But she flinched when she said it, and Brigitte caught it. But Lola played it off pretty good and even told her, well, hell, we fucked on the way over here. So then Bo comes back. They go to the car, and she was like, your sister's a bit much, but nothing I couldn't handle. And so Bo was like, I wouldn't have left you alone with her if I didn't think you could handle her. So then he starts to tell her the story. So Brigitte isn't his sister. She is the daughter of the woman that his father was cheating with in France, whom was also in the car at the time, and both of them died. So he brought her back since she was like only 15 years old. His mother was a complete and utter mess when she found out about the affair, and then having the kid come and live with them. Well, the father had left inheritance for that daughter as well. And so at first the mother was like super depressed for like the first couple of years. But then it was like all of a sudden for like 6 months she was all better. Well, we find out that she had spent all the girl's inheritance that the father had left her so that the girl would have nothing. So she felt this was only fair, So Brigitte has been a sister to him, kind of like in every sense of the word. She's motivated him when there was nothing. And so he still sends his mother money. She's, I think, in Florida, but, because like you said, she's still my mom. Then Lola brings up what he had said before about, money ruining things. And then she had started to say, with me taking your money, he finished the statement and said, makes you a whore. So she, of course, got pissed and was like, why do you do that? You're sweet to me. And then you turn right back around and make me feel like nothing. And then he starts kissing her. She tries to fight, but in his hands, she's just pure putty. So they don't go to an event. He takes her back to the Four Seasons, the same hotel. They go have a drink. And, of course, her mind is reeling. And she's thinking about him being with other women. And it's making her jealous. And he basically tells her that he would give over anything just to have these 2 nights with her. And it freaks her out. And he calls her out about Johnny. And the fact that deep down she knows he isn't good enough for her. But it's been easier to think she isn't good enough for him. Because that makes you stay. But if you feel like, this shit ain't good enough for me, you're more apt to leave. But if you feel like you're indebted and I'm not good enough for him, you're going to stay. So he asked her if she could love him if they hadn't met the way that they did. And Johnny didn't exist. And she was like, she could possibly. And so he told her if ever during their night, if she feels it, to tell him. And old girl was starting to feel like, fuck faking it. She might already be falling for him. So he took her up to the room and he took, I can't remember if it was a scarf. It might have been his tie. And he blindfolded her and led her to the bed and tied her to the post. So he poured himself a scotch and just stared at her. But she was like, stop torturing me. And he was like, this is my last night with you and I want to savor it. So then he got on the bed, and while he fucked her, he got her to tell the truth. And that was that she wanted to stay with him and she didn't want to leave. And he asked her, did she want him to keep her tied up so that she didn't have to make the decision to stay? And she was like, don't make me say it. So this man had this girl saying that this was his pussy and that she never wanted to leave him. And then, of course, they came extremely intensely. So then they lay on the bed and they talked about what he did and if he loved it. So he's like an angel type of investor. And basically, I don't think I talked about this in the first review, but him wanting that meeting with the mayor is because he's trying to bring more tech companies to LA instead of them going to the Bay Area. So he wants to try and get initiatives. Of course, yes, it helps him out, but it also will help, LA. And so that's what he does. Basically, people have dreams and he tries to make them come true. So he basically told her, you could have, a dream, if you just applied yourself, But her thing was, she's like, those aren't options to me. They really weren't something that I looked at. It just kind of felt like I just had to get a job, and that's just kind of it, but not really living a dream. So he got upset because she had said something, called herself like trash or something. And he doesn't like when she says that type of stuff. He's like, because that's not the way that I see you. So they start kissing again, and then he rubbed her ass, and she knew what he wanted, and she was like, I can't give that to you. But he was like, I want you to give me something that you haven't given him. So she describes, like, even with just fingering her ass, Johnny's like rough, because it's not about her, it's all about him. As with Bo, it feels good, and it's, turning her even more, So she gives it to him, and it's amazing. And she comes super hard, and so does he. So then they go and shower. He fucks her again, and she knows every part of her belongs to Bo, mind, body, and soul. Afterwards, she goes to the balcony, and she's just kind of thinking, reflecting about everything. And he's like, do I have to worry about you jumping? And she's like, no. And he tells her, he wants to take her somewhere so she can see the stars. So he gets the car. He calls down to have them get the car ready for him. He has clothes for her, and at first she's like, I'm not wearing another woman's clothes, but he was like, no, those are yours. I got them for you. So they go downstairs, get in the car, and he's taking her to Mulholland Drive. And of course, she's like, she knew about Mulholland Drive. She's an LA girl, so she knew that was the best place to see the stars. So they have a lot of conversation, a lot of deep conversation. She actually admits that she doesn't know what's going to happen with her and Johnny, because for her to do this, there has to be a problem with that relationship. And that she basically has stayed so long because she kind of made her life about his life. And that's just not good enough anymore for her. So she never says, like, that she's going to leave Johnny and be with him. But she now looks at the Johnny situation like it's probably not a good one. Which I'm happy for, because I'm like, thank gosh, It shouldn't have had to take being with someone else to figure that out. But I guess when you just, like, put the blinders on and you don't want to look at something, you won't look at it, He then talks a little about his sister Brigitte, and that, they probably don't have the healthiest of relationships, because she's, like, really extreme. She's either super low or she's super high. She's really territorial over him. And he knows that, and that's why sometimes, like, when they get in arguments, he'll just go and he'll get stay at that hotel, the Four Seasons, like a couple of nights. So then they go to a convenience store at a gas station to get some food, because she wanted some hot dogs or relish. And so he's like, all right, I'll go get it for you, my queen. He goes in, and she's thinking about, she wants some chocolate, but he doesn't know what type of chocolate she likes. So she goes inside, and the place is being robbed, and the guy has a gun to Bo's head. And everything kind of went in slow motion, but she was like, she's not trying to let anything happen to him. But he was like lying to the guy, telling the guy, I got money, it's in my back pocket. He's like, it's in my left back pocket. And when the guy went to reach for it, of course, there's nothing there. And then she yells out, I have it. And the guy was like, okay. So he goes, he grabs her, and Bo's like, don't touch her, just take me. I have millions. I give you everything. He's like, just don't take her. And he even told him, that Lamborghini outside, that's mine. You can have it. Just don't take her. And so the clerk, I think he tried to help too, because when they got outside, they were able to kind of get away from the guy, and the gun did go off, and Lola thought that Bo had been shot, but he wasn't. So the guy took off, and Bo wanted to go after him, and she was like, no, you can't do that. But he was like, no, he has to pay for what he did to you. And so she was like, no, because you might not come back. I can't lose you. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. And so at first he was going to go. But then he wound up staying. They talked to the police. And then they come back to the hotel. They have this fuck session. And before they have that session, she tells him, I couldn't let something happen to you. And he said, why? And she said, the same reason you couldn't let something happen to me. And so they knew what it was, but they didn't say it. And then finally, I guess old girl was just like, fuck it. She said, I'm not falling in love with you. He's like, she's like, I'm already in love with you. And they bang out a hard one. And they, of course, both come like crazy. And he told her he loved her too. And then afterwards, she was just like trying to hate him because she knew she had to like leave in a few hours. And it didn't work. She tells Bo, like, I love you and I love him and I don't know what to do. And she was just like trying to make it last. I felt bad for her because she really was stuck in this emotional like place of fuck. Like, I do love this other person, but then this is a whole nother type of affection and feeling of love that I have for this new person. That's a hell of a way to to be. And it scared the shit out of her because it was like, Bo's love knew no limit. That's scary. She kind of knew, like, with Johnny it had capped. Like, it's reached what it's gonna be. But it was endless when it came to Bo. And I can understand that freaking her out. So she even made the comment that, you know, at the gas station, if something had happened, that, you know, if she had that same situation with Johnny, he would have just let the man take her. And I'm like, damn. And again, if you feel like that, girl, that right there alone says the magnitude of what he feels for you. That it's not deep. It can't be. So she's getting ready to leave, and he's telling her, you know, when you go home, you end it and you come back here. I want you back here tonight. I don't want you staying with him overnight. And she was like, okay. He's like, you know, I'm not like Johnny. I know what I want, and it's not changing. He's like, you know, if I could go and do this for you myself, I'd do it. So she goes, and he walks off or whatever, and his phone goes off. So she walks over, and a text message pops up. It's from Brigitte. And it basically said, you know, how's it going? I can't wait to hear the story for when you get that bitch back for what she did. So she's looking at this message like, no, like, this can't be about me. Like, there's no way. And so she goes to Bo, and she's like, what the fuck? You know, like, what's going on? And he's looking at her, and he's like, I'll tell you what it means, but I can't tell you right now. I'll tell you later because you're not going to understand. And she said, no, fuck that. She threw the phone. No, he threw the phone, actually, because he took the phone from her. He threw the phone, and he's like, fuck, you know. So now we get the story. So it was either 9 or 10 years ago, he had met Lola at the Cat Shop strip club. He was just coming off of the biggest deal. He had closed. It had made him like probably like he had a lot of money now, right? And he went to the strip club. He went to the VIP room with Lola, and he was like shooting different numbers at her. He's like, you know, I'll give you 1,000 for a night, 5,000, 10,000. And she told him she couldn't be bought. So when he saw her outside of Hey Joe's, he basically wanted to prove her wrong. And so when she turned down the tip, remember he tried to give her like an addition, like a $300 tip. That crazy look he kind of gives, it was because it was like hitting him again of her saying, you can't buy me. And so their first night when they were together, and she told him, you know, you can buy my body, but you can't buy my heart. And so now at that point, he was like, but I did buy your heart. I was like, son of a bitch. And I'm all out here, Team Bo. I'm all happy. Jeez. Oh my gosh. So then Bo's trying to tell her, like, but but it's not like that. This is real for us, right? But she just was like on shutdown mode. And she said, you know what? You didn't. She's like, I love Johnny and I'm going to go and I need to leave. And she's like, where's my money? Because she had told him before she didn't want the money. And it was this great thing, right? But now she's like, fuck this. I want my money. So he kind of threw the case at her. And he wouldn't admit that he loved her. He told her, get the fuck out. And she said, that's okay. Because she knew deep down he did love her. And he was going to come to that realization. And he's going to wish he had never met her. And that is how it ends. Ah! So the next book in this series is called Provocation. And so we're going to dive into that book next week. Oh my gosh. This was so much. I should have known that he probably knew her from the strip club. I just didn't think he would go to those lengths for payback. So to me, that means he has a complex with money as well. I still don't like Johnny. Johnny's still trash. But it's like, wow, you go that hard to prove to someone that they can be bought. And she had said to him, like, all you had to do was come back and talk to me and I would have talked to you. But you never did that. You basically threw money at me and you didn't give me the opportunity to prove if I was about money or not, because all you wanted to do was just throw money at me. And so that's why for me, him doing that, that's like your ego. That's your issue. It's not her. And you basically saw a way to get her and you exploited that. And now you're trying to blame her like she's the worst person in the world. I don't know. That's crazy. And him saying now, like, oh, at the end, and he's all like, oh my gosh, but it's different now. We really feel this for each other. But it's like, how can she trust that? Like, that's scary as fuck that you were willing to go to those lengths to, like, get back at me for something that all I was saying is, I don't want your money. That's just, I don't know. That's crazy. I hope he meant it. I hope that him saying to her, what we feel for each other, it's real though. I hope he meant that and it wasn't just a part of the game. Because if not, then, you're just a trash ass person. Like, her saying that she loved you. This was a hard thing for her to admit to herself, that she had fallen for you. So it's always shitty. Like, don't play with people's emotions. Even if, let's say, he tried to talk to her again and she said no, and still, like, take the no. Don't try and prove points and hurt people. That's just so shitty. So we're going to see how this thing, what direction this goes in, with Johnny, with him. This should be pretty crazy. Make sure you guys like and subscribe this video. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook, I do have some for sale, and the link is going to be down below in the description section. As always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.